Next up, who could also be in and amongst this topic of conversation is Xavier Lindsay, who I know has probably come into calculations a little bit in recent times. So wearing the number 3 in this clip. What are your thoughts on Xavier Lindsay? How do you see him potentially being available at picks 10 or 11?
My main concern with that is St Kilda. As I mentioned earlier, the Saints really have Xavier Lindsay really high on their draft board. They're to the point where he's probably a lock at pick 8 or 9 for them. Or 7 or 8, whatever picks they have. One of those. He's probably the most well-rounded player in the draft. He's very good at a lot of things, but doesn't stand out in any of them. Like, he's just a very... If I could say that there'd be one player who will be a 200 gamer in the draft class, it would probably be Xavier Lindsay.
Really? Like, okay.
Clubs see him as probably the safest pick outside of Jagger Smith. But yeah, Lindsay for me is definitely one of those players that would likely be gone before that pick. But very handy. His athleticism is probably the knock, not really all that quick. But he can play forward, half back. He's very versatile as well. So I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be surprised if he was there at 10 and 11 for us.
Where would you envisage us playing him if we were to select him?
I'd probably see him starting probably on a wing or even a half forward line. Like, his kicking is very reliable as well. So, yeah, probably sort of the wing half forward role at this stage for Lindsay if we do take him.
And how does he compare to Murphy Reid? Because I know that in one of the videos we put out recently that we had Murphy Reid as being someone that could potentially be of interest at pick 6, which is obviously a little bit higher than 10 and 11. Are they sort of much of a similar player, or would you have one ranked vastly ahead of the other?
They're kind of similar players in the way that they play. But it's very hard to split. I think Lindsay's probably, as I said, the most well-rounded player in the draft. Murphy Reid has a few more tricks up his sleeve and could be a bit more creative with the ball. But despite that, there's really not all that much that separates them.
So it's going to be interesting to see if he lasts that long. And this is why I suppose I can really understand the argument of people wanting to keep 10 and 11, because players like this could end up there it would be invaluable to have at the club. And this is, I suppose, where it's the whole risk versus reward